Buffy the Vampire Slayer panel here at Wales Comic Con Live, and I am joined by Anthony Head, Amber Benson, Claire Kramer, James Masters, and Seth Green. Guys, thank you so much. I mean, we are trying to raise funds here for the wonderful NHS. They're doing an incredible job. This is what we're trying to do, is try and raise funds, help them, keep them going. And you guys have given up your time today, free, just to be here.
What?
We are just... I forgot to send you that note, actually, James. But
I was promised £5.
I was told I had to pay £5.
I'll put it in the gift card. No, but in all seriousness, we are so grateful you guys are here. And this is just wonderful. How are you guys doing? How are you managing through, lockdown, first of all?
I was just telling everybody that I'm actually doing too well. I think that I'm a massively lazy person who's been fooling himself for years, and I'm quite content just to hang around at home with my wife, watch TV shows, and play video games. I'm like,
you're a big gamer anyway, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a big gamer, so it's like not TV for you; it's gaming, and so
I know. But I have reeled my wife into a video game. That is a hard thing to do. That has
you guys playing
a long time, and we're playing a game now together. So it's very romantic as well.
That's awesome. That's amazing. What about the rest of you? What are you?
Well, I was just going to say, our garden. We have a lovely garden, and it's been like it's suddenly saying, "Where have you been?" Because it's looking wonderful, and there's loads of stuff that I've been doing, and it's just going. So thanks. So why haven't you been here for the last 20, 35 years, whatever it is we've been? Finally, I'm clearing, and it's happy.
I think loads of people have found their sort of gardening talents, haven't they, during this lockdown? It's been one of the things that we've all sort of, I'll have a go at that. I didn't have time before. But do you find that people have actually got more time now, more quality time? Because I've noticed that I've managed to call friends of mine that I haven't spoken to for a long time, that I've neglected. And I can do that. And I've realized just how important that is now. And maybe, I feel really terrible that I'd kind of forgotten that, I think.
No,
we all just get busy. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead, Seth.
I was just saying, I think everybody gets busy. All of us work really hard and like to work and travel and do cons like this in person. And so it becomes difficult to put that kind of focus on your relationships and friendships. So I've definitely enjoyed a little extra time, but I'm also kind of a happy homebody, and can do a lot of my work from the house. So
does it feel like the days are flashing, like they go so quickly? They really do. I mean,
yes.
Oh my God, it's like 6 o'clock. We need to do this. We need to do that. I mean, there's no kind of waste of time.
I let myself off the hook for not having learned a new language by now. I've got a lot of aspirational people in my life who were like, I read 16 books and I wrote a screenplay and I had a Zoom meeting where I put together a charity. Hope you'll make a donation. And I'm just like, I made coffee and then I drank it.
I wrote a novel.
But Seth, I think you learned the language of Zoom. I mean, you have you showed us all a lot of tricks before we started this panel. So
Seriously.
I'm available for all your IT work.
King of the backdrop. This is how good I am. I'm going to give you my virtual backdrop. Okay, this is me. Boom, there. That's as good as I can do. Jesus Christ, I don't even know.
Gosh, you still got the Predator up there. The Predator in the conference.
He's disappeared. No.
This looks like a Snapchat filter. You could make $1 million
from the meeting. I
That's
can't.
amazing.
Okay.
Oh, he's back.
Wow. I almost couldn't come back.
What about Amber? You've been doing any writing at home?
I feel like I haven't been in quarantine. I'm doing exactly what I did before quarantine started. I sit in front of my computer working all day. It starts to get dark and I'm like, oh, wait, what happened in the day? Because I've been working the whole time. I don't know why. I guess I'm a workaholic, and I'm being made aware of that right now in this panel, that I need to stop and start a garden of some kind and kill all of the plants, because that's what I do.
The days, I think the days are whizzing by though, and the weeks as well. I arranged with a friend of mine that we catch up each Saturday, and he rang me earlier, and I said, "Why are you calling me again?" And he said, "Well, it's a week later," and I said, "Just got this sort of week has whizzed by." So, right, okay, so it's been crazy. I hope that's the same for everyone, and I'm not a small breakdown.
Yeah, early on, I heard someone coin the phrase "Blur's Day."
Yeah.
Like Monday, Tuesday, Blur's Day.
Like, well, we've got a thing. I don't know, have you got a thing in America where basically on Thursday nights at 8 o'clock we go outside and we applaud the NHS? Have you got? Do you guys do anything like that? And if you don't, start now.
Yeah, I've heard calls for it, and I found myself the one time I went outside by myself, and I guess it's just where we live. We don't live in like a concentrated enough area or nearby any.
It looks like you have no neighbors, Seth.
Yeah.
A few whales and dolphins.
I saw this fantastic. There was a fantastic
contained lake.
There was a fantastic tweet because we clap every Thursday at 8 o'clock, so we're all clapping there for the NHS. And this tweet went out and said, if you are going to break up with your partner, throw them out 8 o'clock on Thursday, and it looked like the entire street hates them.
You know,
the whole neighborhood's on my side.
Yeah, it is one of the good things that has come out of this is sort of everybody resetting the clock on their life and taking time more with your family. And our neighbors have done a thing where every night from 7 to 7:30, we will all go in our front yards and we'll play music for a half hour and let the kids just kind of like yell at each other from the yard. So that's been really nice. And it's been good. I think that, it has been a good time to reconnect with old friends and family and people you haven't spoken with in a while.
No,
absolutely.
You have a house full, Claire. You have a bunch of young people.
Let's not talk about the homeschooling that I'm having to do. Because you talk about Zoom meetings between the 5 of us, the 4 kids and myself. We have up to 30 Zoom meetings a day. I have to keep track of because they're online from 8 to 3, all in class, all different classes.
Wow.
Oh,
yeah.
You're a badass.
How many devices do you have that can do all of that?
The school sent home their iPad.
Oh,
so they have their school iPads. But I will tell you a funny story. Okay. So I bought this lockbox for all our laptops and iPads because my idea was I'm going to lock that stuff away after school hours. Like, so they go swim, go jump on the trampoline, do whatever. So I bought it. It came, like the kids were all worried about it coming. Like, what does this box mean? How, what's going to happen to our stuff? And I'm like, I'm going to lock it away every day. So I got it. I ordered a lock. It came. They all went to bed one night. I locked it all up. Everything's in there. I can't get it open. It's been 2 weeks. I cannot get the combination open. So I literally have a call with Master Locks on Monday to try to extract my electronics from there. Now their iPads weren't in there, but the two of the kids' laptops were. So.
Oh wow!
They recommend the lockbox. It has cut down on a lot of viewing, but but I do also recommend being able to open it.
They won't send you a technician. They just send you a welding torch and instructions.
Yeah.
Well, in the first hour after the kids realized it wouldn't open, they went from a hammer to fondue sticks to a lighter to WD-40, all of anything they could think of. These are for kids where their YouTube access was taken away, so there was a riot happening.
Wow, you're like a warden.
Yeah, but you know what? I will give this advice for parents out there who are trying to homeschool and be the cook and be the chef and be the housekeeper and also work full-time or part-time, is just lower your expectations. My expectations started here. They're way off screen down here now. Like, I'm not sure when my kids have showered for the last, they go in the pool. I'm like, they're getting clean. They're getting the salt water is taking things off of them. They're good. They, the first couple days I was like making these gourmet breakfasts and frittatas and like all this. Now I'm like, there's milk and cereal in there. You can pour it.
Mhm.
So it's tough out there for parents, but just, try to lower your expectation and enjoy your time with your kids, I guess.
Sounds like
I
great
so
advice.
agree with you, Claire. I used to think of lowering my expectations as a bad thing, as giving up. And then I kind of realized that the universe does not reorder itself every morning based on my expectations. Like there's what's actually happening, and then there's what's happening in here. And there's completely different things.
Yeah.
And I find that if the lower my expectations, the happier I am.
Yeah.
And it's not about
Absolutely.
giving up. It's just about accepting what's actually real.
And being like, oh, okay, well, I can't, accept things you cannot change. And,
Yeah.
that's the part of that I am
And I can change
to
very
right
little
now.
from inside this house. Yeah.
But there's new opportunities which have arisen as well, So we can't do this, we can't go there, we can't do that, but we've got time. We've got, thank the gods, we've got Zoom. We've got all of these, different, to be able to connect with the outside world. I mean, if this had happened 20 odd years ago, we'd be in a very, very different place. But there's lots of opportunities as well for us at the moment.
It's true.
Yeah, like the opportunity to find perfect lighting. Claire, what are you doing? You look like you are in
It's true.
studio.
It is true.
Like share technological knowledge. Here, this is wisdom in front of my face.
I'm on my phone. What can I say?
God damn. Okay.
But so if I have to say, if you're on your phone, are we all very small?
Very
No.
tiny.
I'm good.
She's got a massive phone, guys. She's got like a 1980s style suitcase phone.
Like a suitcase, yeah. That's funny, Seth. I remember the first time I was living in New York at the time when one of my friends came into the bar where we were hanging out with a phone, and it was like literally like 2 bricks, and I was like, "What is that?" He's like, "It's a phone, man."
It looks like a
So
Star Trek
massive.
prop from the 70s.
Yeah.
One of those Motorola ones, wasn't it? The Mark ones.
Yeah.
I worked
Now
on
they're removing all the payphones from, mostly LA. I took my kids up hiking where the Nike Missile Lodge, the Nike Missile place is. I don't know if you guys know that place, but there was a payphone
Nike
there.
is
They're
making missiles now?
well, it's an old
With a
launch
swoosh.
place in
Yeah,
Los
just
Angeles.
go for it.
Yeah,
But
just do
there
it.
was-
Just do it.
There was a payphone, and they're like, "What is this?" I'm like, "It's a phone." They're like, "What do you mean? A phone? But
that
how
can't
do you
fit in your
carry it
pocket."
around?"
We're old is what that means.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But we look great.
We look amazing.
True.
We're just experienced.
There we go.
Oh, mileage.
Oh.
So I'll tell you what, Giles wouldn't have done very good with all this technological sort of
It's
advancements, would he?
true. It's very true.
He would have struggled.
And back in the day, I was saying to somebody the other day, when this first started, the first season of Buffy, and at the end of it, we did 12 or 13 episodes. And then I came home, and I remember calling Alison and saying, how are we doing? Because we didn't know whether we were going to get picked up or not. And she said, are you online now? Have you got a computer? And I said, yeah, we just got one. And she said, yeah, we've all got shrines. Go online. But I remember our computer was like one of those big, the thing with all that stuff. Massive thing, like, you got about 2 computers, whatever. But we all had shrines, and they were little things designated to each of us. Very sweet. And just stuff online was just so cruddy. It was just like rubbish. Now it's all so swish and arty-farty.
I'll never.
Can I?
I'll never-
Sorry, I was just going to answer you quickly. I obviously can remember you when you were starting off. Well, I remember you in theatre and whatnot. How did you get the transition over to get into Buffy? What attracted you to the role of Giles?
Well, the script, but yeah, I went over to LA because I did a commercial here, which suddenly became, my face was sort of all over the place. Yeah. And then, amazingly, I did think, "Ooh, wouldn't it be fun if they did this in America?" And somebody said it's called something else. It's called Taster's Choice. And so I went, "Oh, never mind." And then they did it, and they called me and Sharon up. And we did some American, and just the American attitude to a big commercial is very different from one here. Because there was a point when my agent said she'd put me up for a drama here, and someone had said, "This is a drama. We don't want people reaching for their coffee jars."
My mom wanted you to reach for our coffee jar. I just have to say.
So I went to her. Sarah said, "Look, I'll stay here with the kids, and I'll be a single mum. You go to the States." And I did it. It was weird. I did another. I was sent a script for a pilot that had a guaranteed 64 eps, but it was just it was similar to Buffy, but it was just really terribly serious and not very much. And I was like, "Oh, I just don't feel right." My agent over there was saying, "No, you have to do it." And Sarah said, "No, you don't have to do it. There's something really good just around the corner." And then, like a week later, I got sent the Buffy script, and it was just like, I remember I was in a restaurant reading the script. It was just like I was laughing out loud and like turning the pages. And when I went over to audition for Joss, I went into a mate's house and said, "I really want this one." He said, "So you'll get it," and I did. And that, but the only thing is that I kind of took it for granted. You do when you're in something really good. You think, "Oh, this is what it's always like." It's not what it's always like.
Yeah. So was it life changing for you, that role? Do you think?
Strangely, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, ultimately, there was a point when, Joss said right back when we were doing the pilot, he said, this is going to be very, very popular, but it's going to be word of mouth. The high ups, the guys in charge, don't get it, but it's going to be the public that get it and make it the thing that it is. And quite funny, because when it came over to England, I remember I actually talked to the BBC. I was trying to hustle for it to be picked up because another English actor had met me over in LA, and he said, "Yeah, be very careful that your career doesn't sort of just stick in America now. Because if you try to go back to England, no one will know who you are." So I was like, when they said they were interested in screening it, I was like really excited. But they initially did like a 6 o'clock showing on BBC Two or something, and they cut loads of stuff out of it. And then amazingly, they then did an 11 o'clock show, which people used to watch when they came back from the pub. And it was a huge, huge success.
Oh yeah, absolutely enormous. Because
and became international.
It's not just for you, Anthony, either. James, for you, it was a massive, sort of turnaround for your life as well, wasn't it? I believe, getting the role.
Yeah, but being that I was digging out change from the sofa for food before I met Joss Whedon. The reason that I auditioned was I needed money. I needed rent money, and I didn't get a script. I got a couple of pages of dialogue. And went in and auditioned with that, and then when they cast me and sent me the full script, I remember thumbing through it and just going, "Holy shit! I'm in this whole episode! Oh my god, huge role!" And not even understanding that it was going to be more than one episode. But yeah, I was a theater actor like Tony who came down to Los Angeles because I became a parent, and I was frankly not sorting on quality. If I would have gotten the script that Tony got that he passed on, I would have lapped that up in a second. I needed diaper money.
Yeah.
I told my agent I'll be the new Urkel. I don't care. I'm not here for awards. I'm here because I need money. I need money for rent. And so I just lucked into a project that was really amazing, frankly.
Coincidentally, Urkel won a series of awards. And so
I'm not talking about the actor who's like got so ripped. What was up with that? That actor got so freaking ripped.
Julio White. Yeah, I think everybody at some point tries their inner Joe Piscopo.
Yeah.
Deep cut.
God, anyway,
I just imagine you, James, like Raising Arizona with the diapers, just running down the street,
just stealing the diapers.
stealing the diapers.
I'll be taking these Huggies and whatever day player roles you got.
Exactly. Yeah, and I was playing nerds. I came down to Los Angeles because I played a nerd in Northern Exposure, and so that's the only thing I had. And so when I came down to Los Angeles, that's what my agent sent me out for, and I was doing nerds on cop shows. And I'm very happy to do that. That's why I said I'll be Urkel.
Because I heard, and please don't answer this if you don't want to, but I actually heard that at one point you were down to eating bowls of oatmeal. Just lots and lots of bowls of oatmeal.
Yeah, that was a particularly that was one year where it was really pretty bad. And my ex-wife and I, we would eat oatmeal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then we get sick of it, and we'd switch over to another hot breakfast cereal. Over here, it's called cream of wheat, but it's a bit creamier than oatmeal. We'd eat that for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then we get sick of that. We switch back to oatmeal. I think that year between both of us, we made $7,000 that year. So it was only getting money for food and rent. And I had a bicycle, and that was the only thing we spent money on. Yeah. So I continually pinch myself, that I constantly, like, I'm in a house now. I've been here for, I don't know, 17 years. It's the only house I've ever owned. And when I first was here, I was really uncomfortable. I'd never been in a place that was large. I'd never had a house, and I didn't really feel like I fit in. Like I would go out and all my tawny neighbors, I felt like they were going to call the cops on me or something. Like, what is he doing in the neighborhood? And it's taken me a long time to just actually understand that this is actually my house,
Quick question.
Yeah.
Question. I'm hearing like a dog or people talking. Is that just in my ears, or is that?
No, I can hear it well.
Yeah, it's like a party in the background somewhere.
It is.
Probably
I didn't
Jamie at the party.
I didn't want to tell you guys, if I turn the camera around, you're going to see several hundred people.
You said you have a virtual background.
I'm working, guys. Keep it down. Guys, I'm still working. Coincidentally, James, that all oatmeal diet, that's what both Jake Gyllenhaal did for Prince of Persia and what Chris Hemsworth for the second Thor movie.
This is where the cheekbones came. This is
exactly. Just, poverty. Now I'm eating oatmeal again.
Yeah.
Now I'm eating a lot of oatmeal. Every morning I eat oatmeal because I can't get my muesli. No one has muesli, so I'm like, screw it. Oatmeal works too.
Can I ask
you say something else?
Oh, go for it. Go.
No. I just, my aunt takes that the Metamucil. I thought when you said
no,
you
not
were gonna say mucil.
No, well, for the same reason I take
stay
oatmeal.
regular, right?
It's got a lot of vitamins. Very healthy.
Oh.
Sorry, I'm helping my 84-year-old aunt through this whole thing, and I spent a lot of time buying Miralax and Metamucil, and because you can't go out, so you got to go get the stuff at the drugstore, So everyone thinks I have a constipation problem.
PSA to let everyone know, Amber's not purchasing that for herself.
It's not for me. It's totally for me. It's not
like
for me.
a teenager buying condoms. Oh no.
Amber, just stop writing. Go for a walk once a day, okay? Okay. It's going to keep you regular, definitely. James, can I just go back? I really wanted to know when you got the role, because when I'm hearing your story, I was really quite upsetting to hear that was the situation you were in. That was the length you had to go to make it. And I mean, when you got the position of Spike, and it was just, you took off like a rocket. I mean, everybody loved that character. But how far in advance did you know how that character was going to evolve? Was it, did you know to the end of the season? Did you know to the end of the next few episodes, or how did it go?
Yeah, I was told that the character was going to be 5 to 10 episodes within that season. And so I was just trying to get the 10 episodes rather than the 5. I remember Joss just backing me up against the wall with his finger in my face saying, I don't care how popular you are, kid, you are dead. You understand me? You're dead. And I remember going, dude, yeah, it's your football, man. It's your show. That's fine with me. And so I was just angling to try to squeeze as much as I could out of that. Yeah. And then it went 10. They used me, I think, for 10 in season 2, and then it was over.
Yeah.
I remember thinking that I'd done well. And I remember thinking, well, try to do the show without Spike. Mm-hmm. And then I watched the first couple episodes of season 3, and they had Faith, and I was like, oh God, they don't need me at all. They're never going to have me back. He can, Joss can create these characters at will. And they had me back for 1 episode. I was very happy to do that. Went to the hospital after that episode because I injured myself and didn't tell anybody. And then I think they only had me back because they needed a new Cordelia. Cordelia went over on Angel, the spinoff, and they needed a character to say, Buffy, you're stupid. We're all going to die today. And they needed that kind of character. And they decided that Spike might be the one to do it. But then it didn't work because they couldn't get me into the room because it was always daytime. And they were having me run in with a blanket on fire. Who was complaining about all the smoke. And Joss was realizing this is not going to be sustainable. And at that point, I was certain that I was going to get killed off. I'm just constantly surprised, frankly, that I wasn't. I mean, I think if I would have been in control of the show, Spike would have died a lot easier, a lot quicker.
Your story arc changed completely. I mean, when Faith was introduced and you had the break off, with Faith going in one direction, an Angel. And all of that. I mean, you didn't know any of that story arc at all?
No, we didn't. We were told nothing. We were given scripts a couple of days before we started filming. I mean, I can only speak for myself. I found out what the next script was as it came, and it really bothered me. As a theater actor, you're supposed to know the arc of your character so that you can do blah 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 blah. I remember shooting with Tom Wells on the Superman show. Tom Welling.
Yep.
And he said that he told the producers not to tell him what was happening, that he only wanted the scripts going on because he didn't want to know what his character didn't know. He didn't want to have to act ignorance. He wanted to just go through the experience as his character. And I thought, oh, that's genius, actually, because film is so intimate. It'll catch you acting. So if you're acting ignorance, it'll catch that. So it's much better to just live in darkness. And so I do that as much as possible now. I read that Meryl Streep, when she does a movie, she reads the script one time to decide if she has the role, and then she shows up to the set and doesn't know if this scene is the beginning of the movie or the end of the movie. It's just one more day for her character, because her character doesn't understand that she's in a story with a beginning, middle, and end. Her character is just in a day, and it keeps her from trying to tell the story, which is something when you're in theater, you're supposed to tell the story. But when you're in film, that's done by editors and producers and other things, and you're just supposed to try to experience something that's real, so that the camera can document a real event, a sincere event.
Surely, the only thing about that, I do understand, when you're in something which is chopped and shaped, in different parts of time, if something you're reacting differently because something has happened already in the film, but you haven't shot that yet. How do you do that?
I don't know.
So also, I mean,
yeah, I mean, like within whatever episode, it's probably
Meryl
good to know,
Streep, she's
I stubbed
always
my toe,
just,
I
you know.
my feelings hurt before I enter this scene. Yeah, that is a good point.
Yeah, every time I see the Streepster, I tell her that her plan is flawed.
Once in my life, I would love to. Oh God, I would so fanboy out on Meryl Streep.
Yeah, Meryl,
like,
I really,
so
I was listening to you talk about process, and I've got a couple of notes.
What was it like for you guys as well? Because I'm specifically speaking now to Claire, Amber, and Seth as well. Where you're coming in, you've got this real close group of people and the characters were utterly loved. I mean, people really took ownership of the characters, and then obviously, you know, we get Oz coming in, and we get Amber coming in. You know, how did you go when you first came in? Did you fit straight in, or did you feel the sort of weight of responsibility of where you were coming in and what you were doing?
Two things. When I came onto the show, it hadn't quite blown up. It was still a little bit of a novelty. And coincidentally, I had been in the movie version of Buffy the Vampire Slayer in a role that got cut out. So I was already sort of objectively aware of this as a concept and as a entertainment property. And I had known Sarah since we're like 7 years old. And we'd worked together when we were kids. And I had worked with Allison like 3 times before. So for me, it wasn't like entering a wholly new space. It was actually getting to work again with people that I was familiar with on something that I already thought was pretty cool. But it, to James' earlier point, the internet, as it was in its infancy, started taking a degree of ownership over the show. And it was the first time in my entire career when I'd had my peer group interested in something that I was making as a performer. So it was a bit of a revelation in that respect. But it was fun to work on. I spent my entire career as like, you know, a day player or guest star. So that's kind of my favorite puzzle, is stepping into something already in progress and finding a way to contribute.
Easy. Amber, how was it for you as well? Because I mean, you appeared and then you started to become Willow's love interest. And I mean, that was absolutely unheard of at the time. So am I correct in thinking you were probably the first female or, you know, same-sex couple on screen at that time?
We were kind of the first long-term lesbian couple on network television. There had been other moments. I mean, Ellen famously.
Yeah. And
where I'm from in Birmingham, Alabama, actually, they didn't air that episode. That's how backward our country was. And it's getting better. It's getting better.
Yeah.
Things get better. But it's funny, like I have a Seth story. I, thought I was going to get to work with Seth. And then I show up and I'm like, wait, where are you going? Don't leave. Because we had done, we worked together in Can't Hardly Wait in a scene that I was cut out of. That was really, really fun. And I was so excited to work with him. And I knew Allison from before, so I was excited. And then I went to my first posting board party.
Yeah.
And I went to the bathroom and I'm peeing and I hear these two women outside of the sinks going, oh my gosh, that Tara character, Oz is the best. We hate her. We don't. And I'm like peeing and I'm like, do I come out of the stall? Do I wait? What do I do? So finally they just kept going on and on about how great Oz, Seth. And I came out of the toilet and they both were like, we like Tara. Did you heard what we said? Tara's not bad. We love Seth. I was like, everybody loves Seth. It's true. So to kind of come in and take over that same kind of position in the show was, I think, really hard at first because people adored Seth and Oz, and they really loved that relationship, the Willow-Oz relationship. But then they found it in their hearts to make room for Tara and Willow, and I was very, very lucky to get to play that part. But I want to jump to a different topic for 1 second. What the hey, Dolly Parton produced Buffy?
I mean, I know when that came out, I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah. Oh yes, exactly.
It's like Desi Lupert
not
in Star
credited.
Trek. It's crazy.
Sand Dollar Productions. She is an owner in Sand Dollar Productions.
Good grief.
James, you have been playing video games for the last 38 hours.
I don't know anything.
I'm
friend
correct,
in
Amber, that
Berlin.
there's no credit though, yeah? There's no credit.
No credit. A friend in Berlin sent me the Guardian article.
Yeah.
That Dolly Parton, uncredited producer of Buffy. I was like, if I had known, I would be stalking her. I adore her.
I love her too.
Wow. Sorry. Anyways.
No, not at all. And Claire, sorry, I wanted to come to you as well because I think, well, Glory, obviously, wow. But was she really as dark as everybody sort of made her out to be, do you think?
Well, first of all, she wasn't dark at all. She just she just wanted what she wanted, which was simply to go home. And if she had to sacrifice someone like Dawn to do that, then so be it. So that was, her objective wasn't ever malicious. She didn't have malicious intentions. She wasn't she didn't view herself as evil or dark. She in fact loved certain things about life on Earth, but definitely did want to return where she was, her own god. So she was I do not view her as an evil or dark character. She was very just straightforward in a way. She had no filter, and she didn't mind saying exactly what was on her mind, as we all know. And she just wanted what she wanted, which was to return to her home. So sorry, Dawn, but sorry about the apocalypse.
What about the amazing wardrobe all the time? Did you have any input in the wardrobe?
Best wardrobe, Claire.
It was definitely a great. There were some outfits that were great and some that were not so great. But the red dress was very iconic. It was a Prada dress, and it was at the time, even now it would be considered really expensive, but it was a couple $1,000 dress, and it, they made the most of it. I wore it a few times, and having red be the signature color, I definitely, liked that. There were times where I was like, do I really need to put on a leather dress and 4-inch high heels at 5 a.m. to go out and film? So that was a little bit challenging. But it was a great wardrobe. Her dialogue was some of the best. I always say, I really feel like with that character and being a part of the show that I hit the lottery. It was an unbelievable character to play, once in a lifetime role. It came at the right moment in my life. I was kind of fearless. I had never done television. I'd done one film before. And I just jumped in, and I don't know how I would tackle that type of role today as me, with all my, my jaded experience and, sort of history in the business. Then I was brand new. So I just kind of threw everything out there and didn't have any inhibition.
See, amazing. Surely the person who should have been getting the most wardrobe was Seth. Once a month he's ripping out of his clothes, and he needs a whole new wardrobe. So, but did you know when you took the role, obviously, how you were explained that you were going to be transforming into a werewolf, or did you know that at the time when you took the role, or was it just a role of?
When I first came to audition for it, it was just like a guy in a band, and it was at a time when, grunge was on the way out, and things like Marilyn Manson were starting to really pop. And so I thought I sort of modeled him after the lead singer of The Offspring. If you look at the very first episode that I'm in, I look totally different than what he became. But when I got it, and it was only like a couple of lines across a few episodes, again, I'd spent my entire career doing guest stars and day players, so I just assumed it was that. And then at some point, Joss said that he had this whole idea that this character was going to be a werewolf, and that there would be a romance with me and Allison, which totally was cool.
Joss told me that Oz was the character that Joss wishes he was.
Well, I never heard that, but they gave me a lot of awesome moments, some of the best dialogue and some of the best intent of a character. I've never gotten to be that cool or that at ease or that knowledgeable, or I don't know. I mean, at one point I got to do fight scenes with pistol grip crossbows and like roll over a vampire's back and kick another guy in the face. Like, that was pretty awesome.
I think what people loved about Oz, you were sort of, it was very laid back, but you always had the answers, and you were reliable, and you were the person that we all wished we could have been. And it really was when I was watching.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Oz wasn't at all, the material world really didn't bother him. It looked as if it was all about, sort of experience and everything else. How much of that is true of you as well as a person? How much of Oz is Seth?
Well, actors always talk about what of a character they keep for themselves. And I felt like I brought as much of myself to that character as I could, but I have also taken a little bit of that philosophy that I think it was Marty Noxon said Oz would have the same reaction to the apocalypse that he would to spray cheese. And I thought that really summarized it. He's like, oh, wow. Interesting. You just sort of absorb things at that emotional level, and it gives you the ability to have some perspective in a moment. So I try to do that, but I'm often undone by my own emotions.
I remember Todd McIntosh was so on fire about when you wolfed out, because the wolf costume, it was all about how many hairs per square inch they could afford to put on the wolf.
Because the very beginning of it, when they didn't know they were going to do it more than once, they couldn't build any prosthetics to reuse. They couldn't make any like lace or wig pieces to reuse because we didn't know if we were going to keep doing it. And the very first time that we did it, it was a step down transformation, which they did in reverse. So that was the longest day. The first time we did it, it was like 7 hours, half of it standing up to get all that hair individually hand laid all over me, and then shoot a moment of me on the ground, and then add more hair, and then shoot another moment. And when we eventually got to that costume, like I was never in the whole costume, but I was in the whole face piece and the hand pieces. There's that one scene where Allie comes to the house and I'm like, get out of here because I'm transforming. And that was the most of the costume I got to wear. But it was a pain, man. I'd already done a ton of VFX makeup at that point. I'd had like my head cast several times at that point and sat for really laborious processes, but man, Buffy was still an incredible challenge. And the one summer we were doing the second run, I guess, I did that movie Idle Hands at the same time, and I was going back and forth between these two sets, and I had a 3-hour makeup process every day on that movie, and then I would finish at like 3 a.m. and then drive to Bergamot and get there by 5 a.m. and then sit for 6 hours in the makeup chair.
Todd is brilliant. Todd was in charge of the makeup, and he's an incredible technician, and his makeups work. And he was using the spray makeup before anyone else that I had seen.
Airbrushing,
the airbrushing, the spray. I'm so getting old. I can't, the thing. You spray it on your face. It's the spray.
I remember
makeup.
I could take a nap when he did the vamp face. It took like a little time to spray all that stuff on, but because there was no brush on me, it was just like a little light wet kiss, and I would just fall asleep. It was wonderful. He used to like, he was a maniac. Like I went to his house. He was a perfect pick for Buffy because he could do horror stuff and he could do glamour stuff. And he was passionate about horror. And I remember going to his house and he had a life-size statue of a burn victim in his living room. He used to show me pictures of car crashes right before lunch. He'd be like, check this out. This is amazing. It's beautiful. Boom, right in your face as you get in the chair. And he just didn't clock that. I did not want to see that right before lunch. But yeah, he was, he would, like, any makeup person gets pressured by production to get it done quicker. No matter how long they tell them it's going to take, they try to chop 5 minutes off to get the actor back on set if they can. And I've never worked with someone who was so passionate about just like, get out of my trailer. Like, even if they just open the door, shut up, you know, like, and like you just knew that you were not going to leave that trailer unless it was right. And it was a great safe space. But yeah, I just remember thinking, don't piss him off. Oh my God. When I first met him, he was like, you're not going to go out in the sun. I'm like, okay. And you're going to shave closely. I'm like, okay. And he had like a list of vampire, like the kind of life you're going to lead at this point, kid. You're playing the vampire. These are the things you do. And I remember I kept saying, yeah, okay, I'm down. Cool. And then he got to the end of the list. He's like, really? Do all of this? Thank you so much. And yeah, we became friends.
We had the most amazing crew across the board on Buffy. Just everybody was fantastic. It was like being part of a family.
And the thing that I'm sure we all talk about a lot was just the hours on the show were outrageous, and everybody worked insane hours. And so the dedication of everyone to like get forced calls and have less than 12-hour turnaround and then work a 15-hour day, like everybody really put everything they had into it.
Friday nights, you'd be there till Saturday morning. I mean,
don't you remember shooting like outside trying to get some night shot and the sun has definitively come up and they're starting to like tent your close-ups?
But Seth, you brought up a really good point when you're talking about the werewolf. Is everything was done practically on the show? Like there was very little, post-production special effects. So if it was on camera, most likely you somehow filmed it that way,
Yeah, it was awesome with all of the props and sets and everything actually had to work. Like, all of the makeup was practical, and it was really fun. It was a lot of fun. I mean, it's all the fun tricks that anybody enjoys working in cinema.
Yeah,
I
remember there was
seem to remember. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I thought the most post-production money was for the vampires dusting. That's where
the dust.
So, yes. They could only afford to do like 2 or 3. So occasionally they just have one. You'd have someone
off screen.
Just off screen.
So funny. Yeah, it is all very silly when you're in it, like playing pretend. And like you stab somebody and they're like, "Wah!" And everybody, okay, freeze. You hold in place with the stake, and then the other person just like moves out of frame, and then they go in action, and you're like, yeah. And it feels so silly. Your stunt guy's on his hands and knees, like trying to creep out of the camera.
Even though we had all these amazing stunts and makeup effects and visual effects, like to me, I think the harder scenes were actually the talks around the table at the magic box when there are like 7 people and it's all the coverage and you're there all day shooting one scene.
Yeah. Whenever we had like a 4-page scene in the library, I knew it was going to be a 2-day shoot. Like,
oh my gosh.
There's 7 main characters and everyone has at least a series of reactions or at least some interactive dialogue. And they got so creative.
In season 7, when they had the Slayerettes, a room would literally be full of women, and it would go on for hours. And
you got 9, right? 9.
Well, I can't remember. No, I can't remember how many Slayerettes. Initially, there were about 15. So there were quite a few.
It really was a lot of fun. Like a lot of complicated acting challenges, but also just like nobody was there to be a dick. Like everybody was kind of down for it. So, we had a good time.
We never had anybody, thankfully, a huge relief that, because I've heard so many stories about sort of co-leads disappearing when it's they get their close up, and then when the camera turns around on you, they disappear. Sarah Michelle was never like that. Nobody on the show was ever like that. It was always, everybody was there right at the end.
Sarah was actually really diligent about what was correct. And so if we started to go too long or people were exhausted, like everybody, she was very concerned about nobody falling asleep on the drive home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I remember she could memorize her lines from walking from her trailer to the set. And I just thought that was just unfair.
No, I actually learned so much from her because, like I said, it was literally my first time doing anything for television. And she was, you know, a master. It was season 5. So she, you know, had been playing Buffy for a while, and obviously tons of experience before that. So tons of the tricks of the trade I learned from Sarah.
Yep.
She introduced me to Harry Potter. She was reading Harry Potter. She had like all the first editions. And I was like, what is this?